much. Well, Antonio, as I said, it's a pleasure to meet you, and congratulations on the film Shaman.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to be here. Really appreciate the opportunity.
I want to start our conversation today with bringing the film to the screen. So, before the horror gets underway, it's a story that is grounded in a sense of kind of like historical and cultural context. And so I was just wondering, like, when you're preparing to make a film like this, what kind of research goes into the development side of things so that you can then bring this to the screen with the accuracy that you do?
Thank you. That's a great question. I mean, I think it all started with the script, which my brother Daniel wrote. He did a lot of research kind of going into it. And we had also all grown up in Ecuador, both me and him, and also my wife, Luisa, who produced the film. And so we had an idea of the region and, wanted to go back to our roots. But of course, we needed to really embrace and understand the indigenous community that lives around this volcano in order to tell this story as accurately as we could. And that became actually going there and meeting with over 80 families of the region and getting their permission to let us shoot on their land, which had never been done before. And then also open the door and say, hey, we'd love you guys to be on the crew, be behind the camera, and also be in front of the camera. And so a lot of the actors in the film are people from that community, some of whom had never acted before, but who could bring an authenticity to the rituals, the day-to-day life, the Quechua dialect. And so that became something beyond the script where the community kind of added to the story and helped us make it as authentic as possible.
That's awesome, and it builds on really nicely to my next question when you mentioned the dialect specifically and the presence of the indigenous people on screen, because it's not often that we see a film like this conveyed in multiple languages. So I was wondering, kind of, as it really adds to the authenticity, is that something that's difficult to coordinate on set, or does it just kind of come naturally, having kind of been there and immersed yourself in the culture and the community?
Well, initially it was a bit of a madhouse, I have to admit, because I would be speaking Spanish to some actors, English to other actors, Portuguese to one of our camera operators, and then having a translator for Quechua. So it was initially a really daunting task because as much as I speak different languages, I wasn't used to directing in multiple languages at the same time. But I have to say, around halfway through the shoot, it started to become seamless and then just became really enjoyable and a one of a kind experience for me.
That's awesome. And watching the film itself, I watched it earlier today, and one thing that really struck me early on in the film, and it's maintained throughout, is the mother-son dynamic, which I think grounds the story and drives it forward. And I think you capture it really well with these moments when Candice notices that things with her son are not right, and something sinister could possibly have happened. It's captured with like these stares and these moments of silence where she kind of, as the viewer can interpret, comes to the realization that something has gone wrong. And there's no speech in these moments, and I noticed that is a recurring thing at intense pivotal moments of the story. You kind of strip the dialogue back. So I was wondering, how do you kind of approach doing a scene that has no dialogue but still has a real strong sense of intensity?
Great question. I mean, we first of all would just talk about it a lot, right? Because even though we would rehearse sometimes, I don't like to over rehearse. And certainly in a scene where there is no dialogue, right? It's not like we can run the lines, right? And so it becomes more of a conversation about what is this about? And I think you're very astute in pointing out this idea that almost like a mother knows, right? In the details, a mother knows. And what to someone else might just be, oh, this kid's having a bad day. For a mother, she could say, no, something's fundamentally different or off with him. And so, we would have these conversations and then kind of plan these shots, but then ultimately let the actors fly, let them do what they do. And Sara Canning is so wonderful in the role, as is Jett Klyne, as is the whole cast. But this mother-son relationship really kind of has sparks throughout the film, thanks to them.
And a perfect segue into my next question as well, which was to ask you about your experience with the cast. You've done a few projects with some really great actors, and Shaman is one of those. Um, Do you individualize your approach to kind of meet each actor with their own set of advice and guidance and mentorship, or is it kind of like a thing where you can come to the set with one concept that everyone will kind of follow in with?
I definitely think it's a one-on-one approach, at least for me. I feel like being a director, part of the fun is trying to immediately kind of gauge what an actor needs and what kind of support they want. Because I feel I've been fortunate enough to work with many, many actors, and they're all very different and they're all artists in their own right. And so some of them want a bit of space and want to kind of do their thing for a few takes, and then I kind of go in and start to play, right? Some of them would rather from the beginning I kind of guide them or kind of be close to them and then let kind of set them free. And so it changes from actor to actor. And on Shaman, we had an amazing mix where we had some incredibly professional actors like Daniel Gillies, Sara, Jett, Klyne, Alejandro Fajardo out of Ecuador, who plays the priest. But we also had actors who really were non-actors and were, people of the indigenous community that had never acted before. And that was fascinating as well. And kind of working with them, while different, was equally exciting and got to a similar place. It was just a different path. I feel each actor needed their own kind of path to the character.
And I think everyone on screen works really well together, and they have a great chemistry when they're presenting this horror that the story revolves around. And I think they work with two great tools I noticed: sound and also visual symbolic imagery and the use of props and things like that. And I won't venture into spoiler territory, but I think you can probably guess which kind of specific props and moments I'm referring to. So I was wondering, like, just as a director, how do you kind of combine those things to evoke the tension of the story?
Well, I think to your point earlier, it ties in with not a lot of dialogue at times. This is a story about people in a very remote area, and we shot it at 12,000 feet at the base of an active volcano. And so, the surroundings are just so awe-inspiring that sometimes less is more. And so to me, it really was treated like a Western almost. Even though it's a horror film, there are moments that feel like a Western where we do play more with sound and the kind of vast landscape and the idea that this place could be paradise and hell in the same place, depending on the day and depending whether you're standing by the mountain or whether you walk into a cave. And so, I think that hope that answers your question a little bit. And in terms of props, and animals, I think in the film there's like scorpions and hummingbirds, and they are deities of the natural world. And so I wanted to kind of honor that as well and give these animals and certain props as well, this kind of power that goes beyond being, animals or props.
That's a fascinating thing, and I think I've got time to just squeeze in one more question. So I'll just very quickly ask you, you handle quite delicately, but with still a bit of punch, this conflict between cultures and beliefs with the different characters that you have. And I think that's pertinent not only to today, but it also continues to kind of ground the film in a sense of relatability and reality as well. So for you, kind of what does that serve, that element, that conflict, and how do you evoke that on screen?
Thank you for that question. I mean, to me, it's a film that warns about absolutism, warns about this certainty, and that it's okay to have faith. It can be beautiful and powerful, but there's a danger when you try to impose your faith on someone else, or there's a danger when you're certain that your faith has all the answers and then you encounter something that you're just not prepared for. And so the film talks about that and is a critique of that in terms of what some missionaries have done. As kind-hearted as they may be or well-intentioned as they may be, they've also caused significant damage in certain indigenous communities. And so the film aims to explore those themes.
That's awesome. That's all I've got time for as well. Thank you very much for your time today, Antonio. Pleasure meeting you, pleasure getting to talk about this film with you, and it was a joy to watch earlier today. And I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to be here with you. Please come support Shaman August 8th in select theaters and on digital. Thank you guys so much.